Nightly greetings, one and all. William Theo here, homegrown and happy to bring you major developments of late all over the planet. And topping tonight's late breakers worldwide, delegates to the annual United Nations-sponsored climate conference finally agreed to hold into account nations whose emissions are so great and unmanageable and slap them with a monetary penalty to be subdivided among countries hit hard by climate change. VOA's Paul Nidho gets up close and professional with an Ugandan environmental analyst on this issue of a climate change fund and its impact on a developing country and oil-producing nation like Uganda.
It's part of the process of mitigation and adaptation to climate change, because the COP28 in itself is not an end to solving climate change. Yes, the key theme was setting up a fund to help decarbonize, especially with the global south, in most cases the least emitters, because I think Africa emits about 3% of global greenhouse gas emissions. And then we know that petroleum, oil, gas, and mining, the extractive sector, contribute 1% of the greenhouse gas emissions. So Africa is way not there at all.
Lately, for example, we've had floods that have killed a lot of people from Somalia to Kenya to Uganda and most recently Tanzania. A couple months ago, we saw hundreds of thousands of people die in Libya because of these floods, and partly attributed to climate change. What do you think needs to be done to make sure that some of this funding that was agreed upon help Africans maybe tackle some of these problems?
First of all, there are some structural challenges within our system and society. You see, the first question is debt management and also avoiding bureaucracy. In simple terms, is that decision-making in such big monies is key. And red tape kills decision-making. And so there's a push from people who have given money, the development partners, but decisions are not being made, and money is not going down to benefit whom it's supposed to benefit.
Uganda is now, I guess, on the cutting edge of producing oil. You talked about how there's been an environmental impact. They have a need here where they want to basically maybe build this oil and petroleum industry so that they can create jobs for their own people. But at the same time, they're dealing with a lot of challenges when it comes to environmental protection.
Africa has about 40% of the global oil, gas, and mining resources that are not yet explored. Africa has just started, so that there's this argument that, look, let's first carbonize just like you did, then we shall decarbonize. And so that's why you see we have a refinery process taking shape. We have the East African crude oil pipeline taking shape in order to prepare and fast up the revenues. Then from there, it is assumed that there will be clean technologies in the oil extraction, refining, and transportation process. Then the money, some of it will be used to support the clean energy transition. However, as we said, the danger is the fossil fuel industry contributes big time, 70% to the greenhouse gas emissions. So it is a rather sustainable development. Can we conserve? Can we have oil out of the ground, extract, transport it sustainably? Is that possible? Well, when you look at the energy transition plan that has been, Uganda has launched, there is commitment to exploit our oil resources in a sustainable way.
The AGOA, or U.S. African Growth and Opportunity Act, has been such a hit, a good number of African businesses are pleading for an early renewal so certain countries from the sub-Sahara region can have duty-free access to U.S. markets. VOA's Vicky Stark reports.
Here at Cunye Farms Packhouse in the Western Cape province, Ziani Kotwano knows he's lucky to have a job in the citrus industry. He started living and working here after he ran out of funds to complete his studies in human resources management. So now, come payday, Kotwano sends money home for his son's education.
I want to work hard, I mean like harder, so that he can have a bright future. He can build his life the way he wants to build it, because mostly some of us, we didn't have that choice.
The Independent Agricultural Business Chamber's CEO, Theo Boshoff, says jobs like Ziani's are available thanks to the duty-free access to the U.S. market provided by the African Growth and Opportunity Act, or AGOA.
More than half of agricultural, of our sector's GDP in value terms gets exported. In the horticultural sector, it's significantly more than that, upwards of 70% that gets exported.
He said South Africa's citrus exports to the U.S. is an AGOA success story.
So we are on the back of certain trade agreements, such as AGOA, such as the partnership agreement with the EU. We have seen massive plantings in the last 10 years. Many of those have trees and orchards that have been planted are not yet in fruit, bearing fruit, which means there are additional volumes coming.
Boshoff says this translates into jobs. South Africa, with a population of over 60 million people, has an official unemployment rate of over 30%. He says 1.4 million people are currently employed in the primary and secondary agricultural sectors.
Within agriculture, if you look at the industries such as the horticultural sector, the sugar industry, the wine industry, where that accounts, for between them more than half of agricultural employment. These are also the critical sectors that export, especially to the US.
The Agricultural Chamber has stressed the importance of AGOA for South Africa's rural communities and asked the US government to renew the act well before the September 2025 deadline. It says this will give more certainty to buyers and investors. The Agricultural Chamber says South Africa exports roughly $12.8 billion worth of agricultural and agro-processed products annually. Vicky Stark, VOA News, Cape Town, South Africa.
At this moment, let's turn to our colleague in Pine City Studios to get us up to speed on what's brewing in the Cordilleras. Ala?
Naimbag Arabi Pilipinas, naisangkat iti Baguio City ti maudi kan may kalima arikos ti 2023 Media Summit ti Presidential Task Force on Media Safety and Security kadwa ti Public Attorney's Office. Pinasatan daytoy dagiti media practitioners iti Cordillera, communication students ken dagiti information officers ti regional line agencies ken local government units. Kaya't gamin ti PT Forms amay payan iti kanayunan a panakaammo dagiti media practitioners iti ethical journalism ken mapalagipan dagitoy iti kinapateg ti responsable ken professional a panangipadamag. Natalantan pa iti libel ken cyber libel, dagiti ethical guidelines para iti media workers ken dagiti epekto ti irresponsible journalism, ti responsable a panagpadamag iti panawon ti gubat ken ti panagusar iti gender fair language iti panagsurat iti damdamag. Inyo nay-unay met ni PAW Chief Persida Acosta ti panagbalin nga advocate dagiti media practitioners iti truth and justice ken iti panagbalinda a responsible tapno saan da makaswan wenno madangran bay ti panangaramid da iti trabaho da.
Paniniwala pa rin natin na yung ganitong mga dagdag kaalaman sa kanila ay makatutulong upang maiwasan na magalit sa kanila dahil sa maling paraan na pagbabalita. Ang sino man na maaaring pagbulan ng anumang galit o karahasan na laban sa kanila.
Namaris ti panaglukat ti makainlove nga edisyon ti Tinungbo Festival kagidan ti 112th founding anniversary ti Pugo La Union. Kalpasan ti pandemya, ag subsubliman ng tinagarbo a selebrasyon ti kultura kan tradisyon dagiti Pugueños. Tema itatawan, Love Pugo, One Community, One Town, One Heart. Narugyan ti selebrasyon babon iti drum and lyre competition pinasutan ti siyam a pagadalan. Nakalinya dagiti adung aktibidad mabalin pakipasutan dagiti umili kan bisita. Adumatlaang dagiti naisaganang aktibidad para ka dagiti agtutubo. Pakiramanan ti wood carving and furniture competition pakiparangan ti kangrunan na produkto ti ili. Highlight dito iti Tinumbok Cook Fest. Diyan naglipas ti makabulan na selebrasyon into January 21, 2024.
Ngayon, mas involved itong mga kabataan para ma-discover rin natin, ma-hone natin yung skills nila sa pag-organize ng mga ganitong events and to develop also their talents.
Dagiti damdamag manipo dito'y PTV Cordillera, siyak ni Ala Sunduan, na imbag Arabi.
Thank you, Ala, and that's a wrap for tonight, and we look forward to tomorrow night for more international late breakers. Bear in mind to always work hard, dream big, give thanks, count your blessings while you catch the news right here. William Theo wishing you a restful night ahead.